What we do need is the Monday night pregame show, and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Kyle Sunra, and joining me are my three fabulous co-hosts. We've got Gladys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys? Nice to see your faces again. Just wonderful. I missed your faces.
Same with you. Glad we're all back together. We've got the show sheet creator extraordinaire, producer of sorts, and always bringing his A game. It's the B League. How are you?
Just a quick round of how you going, Carl? Just a quick one. Carl, did your team win yesterday?
No, they lost. As I expected. I thought
did your team win yesterday, Doc?
They did not.
Gladys?
Yeah, they did.
Who would have thought on a Monday we'd be sitting here, me and Gladys are the victors of the weekend? No, I would have thought the Giants.
That was a great Giants win, by the way. It's nice to see them playing with some cojones.
If someone said I'm a Raiders fan, or I'm a Packers fan, or a Steelers fan, or a Giants fan, you would say, "Oh, you're Raiders and Packers." Nah, me and Gladys got the victory. We got it.
Well,
we're on. I don't know about the Raiders bit, but we'll see.
Doc, who won the Devontae Adams trade? The Packers, the Raiders. They both lost the first game, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders.
Devontae Adams.
The Raiders.
Whatever they got cooking over there.
The Raiders.
What a start.
I didn't think Quay Walker was awful yesterday, but yeah.
What was the stat that the Devontae Adams had? His receiving yards were more than all the Packers wide receivers combined.
Preach.
So I think.
Well, there was a while there where the only catch by a receiver was Randall Cobb for 6 yards. Like that stuck for a while, like late into the second quarter. There was like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon were fine, and those were the only Packers worth rostering. Who would have thought that? As Jeff mentioned, the gang is back together.
The gang is back together.
Jared saying good group. Always great when the Yeti comes in and says that. And yeah, the Browns also won, so Jamie could also brag about that too. So yeah, here we are, Doc. Our teams are losers.
Wow, what are you gonna do?
And Yeti's right. His team won, and confident to say the better team won. And we'll see if the Packers can become the better team by the time they host the Vikings again. We'll see if that happens. But glad to see everyone here. For anyone who is watching us on Twitter, unfortunately, we can't see your comments as we've been showing everyone else's comments here. So if you do want to interact with us, please head over to the YouTube page, Going for Two Live on YouTube, search that up, and you should find the channel and this video, all the great work that we're doing there with all the great shows on the YouTube channel. I know tomorrow the Speak On It show is already scheduled, of course, every Wednesday night. But here we are on Monday night, always with, of course, Dr. James Ferretti. So here to talk about injuries more than anything. So it seems like, right, Gladys, show that. Get the book. Injuries suck, but your fantasy team doesn't have to, and neither will this analysis. I swear it won't.
It won't.
That's what we're shooting for.
So there's a few players that we had kind of already put on the list, kind of even entering the weekend. One player that was ruled out and didn't even play on Sunday was George Kittle. So, Doc, what do we know about the injury? And we know he's already missed one game, but what kind of timeline are we expecting for Kittle, given the information we have right now?
Yeah, so with Kittle, they really kind of underplayed this a little bit. They said it was a grade 2 groin injury, which is a partial tear. And we're going to, that's going to keep coming up, like the different grades of injuries, muscle injuries, ligament injuries, tendon injuries, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. What does that mean? What are some of the nuances associated with that? But a grade 2 injury is a partial tear, and not all partial tears are created equal, but they really kind of underplayed that. And they initially said, he might miss a week or two. And that's really kind of underselling how bad this could be. If we're taking them at their word, and this really is a partial tear of the groin muscles, we could be looking at up to a 4 to 8 week time frame, unfortunately. So he was allegedly injured on Monday in practice last week, September 5th. So we could have a minimum of 3 more weeks to go with this, plus the risk of re-injury if he pushes it and tries to come back too soon, where he can injure it worse. So really not good. And based on the game on Sunday, it looks like the 49ers are going to need all the help they can get. If that game is any indication of how things are going to go, not just with injuries, but kind of the way things looked. I know it was a monsoon in Chicago, but
both teams had to play in it.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of, Kittle replacement on the 49ers, I remember looking through the tight end targets for over the weekend, and I think did Dwelly have 2 targets, and then Tyler Kroft I think had 1 or 2. So
yeah,
it's so few pass attempts, also tough to glean who's going to be the replacement. I know entering the week, one of the analysis I heard was you didn't want to play any of the tight ends. Who you wanted to play was maybe Juwan Jennings, and maybe it just concentrates onto the 3 wide receivers. So I don't know that we really want to pick up any tight end. If I had an inclination, because I've Kittle on quite a few teams. The one team I kind of handcuffed him with Tyler Kroft, thinking that Dwelly and Charlie Warner, they're more blocking guys. The move guy would be Tyler Kroft. So it might be him, but he might not even be worth rostering. There's probably other tight ends out there. One thing I always do is check targets. Which tight ends got a bunch of targets? I will say, looking at the list, I mean, Tyler Higbee led all tight ends in targets with 11. So if he's available, he should get more than 38 yards on 11 targets, hopefully most weeks. But I like Hayden Hurst as well. He, I think, had 8 targets. So if you're looking for Kittle replacements, don't necessarily look on the team. And for any tight end that matter, whether they're injured or underperformed, just look to see who's available and who has been getting the most opportunities. So I'm just looking straight who got the most targets week 1 and go from there. But yeah, anyone else want to chime in for Kittle? Move on to the next player.
Next.
I lost the list. So who's next on the list? It was, of course, the big news. How could I forget? Dak Prescott. So, I know this is the late breaking news, late Sunday night with the hand injury to Dak.
Yeah, so with Prescott, it looks like he injured his thumb and he broke it, basically. And they're going to have to do surgery to fix it. So looking at 6 to 8 weeks, maybe. But here's the thing that's really concerning. Their bye week is week 9. So when this whole thing kind of went down last night, I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, it's the thumb, maybe add on a couple of weeks because the thumb is, kind of the most important finger as far as like mobility and things like that. And then I looked at the bye and I was like, week 9, there's a decent chance we don't see him back until after that. Because why would you bring him back week 7, week 8 when you could just rest him, get another week, and then hopefully have him come back fresh with everything healed? So the question is now, do the Cowboys make a move at quarterback? Jimmy G, anyone? Start that rumor mill up again. I know Dan's shaking his head. He's not a big Jimmy G fan, but honestly, when we've seen Cooper Rush in there, he hasn't been horrible either. He's no Dak Prescott, but very few people are. So I'm not exactly like completely pessimistic about the Cowboys moving forward. I still think they can be productive. It's definitely a blow to the offense. But we have to get settled in for Dak being out for a pretty long time here, maybe even half the year, or 2/3 of the year for the regular season for the fantasy players, and kind of take it from there. So that's kind of where we're at. And of course, there's always the risk that things don't come together the way they're supposed to, and and he's out even longer. So there is still the chance of that as well. So definitely not good news for Dak Prescott with regard to this.
And managers who have Prescott on their team, obviously they will be without him, but this has negative ramifications across the board for all Cowboys players. It's going to seem really tough to start any of them. I suppose Zeke based solely on volume and the idea that he might catch more passes basically because they don't have enough receivers anyway, but lesser quarterbacks not pushing the ball downfield, not a great offensive line needing to dump down. So like Zeke might be the only Cowboys player you really want to play through this stretch. I mean, it'd be tough to bench CeeDee Lamb just based on where you drafted him, but the early results were awful. Now they're playing the Bucs. And I want to say this for a few teams like the Rams, I don't think will look that bad. Mostly because everyone's expecting the Bills to make the Super Bowl. That might be the best defense in the league, the best team in the league. So the Rams aren't going to play that team every week, so they'll probably look better. And I think the same for the Cowboys to a certain extent. The bigger concern, though, is the lack of quarterback. But, the Bucs are right up there as a legit Super Bowl contender, I think, and one of the better defenses. So not totally surprised they looked bad. If anything, I was surprised Zeke looked so good last night. So
he actually looked all right, didn't he? He did. He looked sharp.
If only somebody had been saying all summer that maybe don't discount Zeke completely because he's getting older. I mean, I wondered, Gladys, was that you? Were you the one that's saying that? Maybe it was Dan. Maybe it was Dan.
It's probably Dan.
It was probably Dan.
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably wasn't me.
It definitely wasn't Doc who says that all the time about players.
Definitely wasn't me.
I think that their offense didn't look good with Dak in there, and it wasn't all Tampa Bay's defense. They didn't look good. I mean, Tampa Bay has a good run defense, but their passing defense isn't all that great. Their secondary isn't all that great. And CeeDee Lamb had 11 targets and he caught 2 passes. Come on.
That's not good.
Great.
I was never great at statistics, but I think that's not great.
Yeah, I don't think that's good at football.
Dallas helped him look good.
Some people are saying that Dak just looked like trash. We can say that for Dallas as well.
Come on.
Jeez.
Come on. He just broke his
guy while he's down.
Well, anyway, so getting quite a few people in here. Mr. Scamper's in here saying, hey, everybody.
Mr. Scampers.
All right.
Doc, Dan, Gladys, and Kyle.
Gator is here.
Definitely
Gator
Kyle
is here.
Hey, Gator.
Appropriate.
He said, I have come here to slander Dak Prescott and chew bubblegum, and I am all out of bubblegum.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, Yeti's mentioning, funniest comment he saw was Dak is on pace for 17 broken thumbs. Now, is this kind of reference to like 2 years ago when Dak had the ankle injury and he was on pace for 7,000 yards, like the most attempts ever. And I wonder if it's kind of harking back to references to that. When everyone was kind of like, as per point per game numbers, he was the QB1 by far, like 30 points per game or something. It was ridiculous. And the thumb is technically not a finger, as Jamie said. But go ahead, Dan.
Did Tampa actually convince anyone that they couldn't really put away a broken Dallas team? Because their run
on the red zone,
right? But we're talking at New Orleans, and we know what Brady does at New Orleans, and that's nothing.
They own him.
They do own him, and then we're talking about they've got Green Bay after that, who could be anything. Then the Chiefs week 4. And I know Brady teams that go 2-2 to start the year end up winning Super Bowls. I get that. But they don't have the best run. Like if you're looking at Atlanta looked like they were okay.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, which could be tough. Like we know what Pittsburgh can do at home. They're a different team. Carolina away, Baltimore, Rams. It's not the easiest opening schedule for the Bucs if that's how they play. I don't know if anyone was that overly convinced in what they produced. I don't want to get too far away from Dak and how bad his thumb is and the Dallas media. These are the days that I miss being in Dallas because sports radio in Dallas after a loss is quite possibly it's like Broadway. It's beautiful. It's chaos. That's just hell's burning down, and I miss it. But we're talking about Tampa that, they don't have Sue, no JPP. They lost Whitehead. Their receiver core it's a mixed bag of goodies, and Brady did nothing all preseason. So they might take a while to get kicking on.
Well, let me ask Doc, Chris Godwin, how long do you think he's going to be out?
Segue.
Well, Gladys, I'm glad you brought that up. So we kind of had a bunch of kind of similar hamstring injuries, so we can kind of tackle them all at once. We had Godwin, we had Rondale Moore, and we had Keenan Allen. Were kind of the main ones. So the deal is, and Chris Godwin might have actually been the worst out of all of them. So we're going to go back to that grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 type thing, and we'll talk about that more when we get to Eli Mitchell. But he's
sorry.
No, we'll get there. I promise. So with Godwin, unknown severity at this point, but I suspect it's a grade 1, which is the lowest grade. I still bet it's going to cost him at least a couple of weeks. Typical time frame for this, could be anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. So I think he even came back from the ACL kind of sooner than maybe we would have thought. I think it's better to line up a replacement for him for the next couple of weeks. And if he comes back sooner, that's that's gravy. And that kind of goes for everybody here. So possible replacement for him is the forgotten man, as Dan talked about, the guy coming back from his own, lower leg injury, Russell Gage. So he's back from his own hamstring injury. He's probably the one that stands to benefit, along with Julio Jones. Julio Jones is probably rostered in most leagues. Russell Gage may not be. Because of the injury and because of the Julio Jones signing and Godwin coming back. So not really something that I'm worried about long-term. There is the risk of recurrence here, but he's probably going to be out a couple of weeks. Rondale Moore, he could be out a week or two. Same deal. And then Keenan Allen, they got a short turnaround. I think they play on Thursday. So really unlikely that he's going to play. That's kind of where we are with these guys.
Well, and just to talk about the Chargers. So we've got a comment here from Russell Kaiser, and I know a lot of comments on YouTube. We also are on Facebook, are on Twitch, so you can join us there and comment as well. Again, can't get them on Twitter, so join on any of those other platforms. Going for 2 comment here, but thoughts on Mike Williams. Now, I don't think this is necessarily an injury question, right? I don't think he was hurt, but I think the idea that he didn't perform well, right? So anyone want to chime in just on their fantasy thoughts for what to expect from Keenan Allen?
This is known as the Mike Williams roller coaster. That is the 2 for 12 day, followed by the 8 for 187 and 5. Like, you're going to get that from Mike Williams. It's horrific, and how he ended up the wide receiver 14 last year is beyond me, because the inconsistencies.
Touchdown.
Yeah, that's it. The inconsistencies within his day. It's terrifying. You have to play him, because you look at like the Raiders game, and if you check the books, the Raiders Chargers game yesterday was one of the highest implied totals on the weekend, and it was heading that way until Derek Carr decided to be Santa Claus and give out gifts in the middle of September. It's one of those things where Mike Evans, he can do this to you, and it sucks because you got to play him, and he's going to do that. Without Keenan Allen, I don't think it changes. I think they just work in more people, to be honest, in terms of a usage standpoint. Williams' role won't change. You're talking about guys like Josh Palmer or Gerald Everett or more Austin Eckler, maybe, to get more in the passing game. It might work out more that way. I don't see it changing overly aggressive towards Williams. He might go from 5 targets to 7. That's where you're looking.
You're just hoping Mike Williams gets in the end zone. That's what you hope.
Yeah, you really want that. And listen, they play Kansas on a short week. There's a chance that they open him up a little bit more, because you can do that to Kansas. They'll allow it. But how much more you expect from him, I don't think you're going to get much more. A little bit more. And you hope that the yards and something else comes up.
This is going to happen with all the wide receivers. I mean, I know Cooper Kupp blew up, Stephon Diggs blew up, Justin Jefferson blew up, but they're going to have games like this too. They're they're going to have their 3 for 23 games as well.
They're not pretty games.
They'll get a bunch of targets. They won't catch a lot of them. These games are going to happen. The unfortunate part is it just happened in game 1, and we don't have a body of work. If this was game 6 and Mike Williams had been, easily in wide receiver 1 territory and he throws a clunker up there, nobody cares. But because it's the first game out of right out of the gate, then people will have more eyes on it. But I wouldn't change anything at all. I guess my question to you guys is, definitely Josh Palmer is almost assuredly rostered in the majority of leagues. What was interesting is Jalen Guyton looked like he was the number 4, but the guy who actually came in and had a better game was DeAndre Carter, who, 4 targets, 3 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown. You know me, I'm always looking for the next guy off of waivers that nobody's ever heard of. I think it's not a horrible idea to scoop him up and just kind of let it marinate on the bench and see if something happens there with either of those guys, honestly. But what do you guys think?
Well, just to speak on Carter, he was okay in stretches last year with Washington when they were suffering through injuries and they really didn't have anyone else to pass to, and kind of stepped up when needed. So yeah, he could definitely. This doesn't seem like a fluke out of nowhere. Like he could repeat that type of performance again. Maybe not the touchdown every week, but 60 yards a game with Herbert passing that type of volume definitely seems reasonable.
I'm a Gerald Everett guy.
Yeah, I like Herbert too.
So if you're looking at it, like, if we're hoping someone else gets more work, we're looking at a position that obviously always needs need. So, like, okay, if Palmer's not on your waiver wire, I'd look at Gerald Everett. And he played a fair bit. He scored a touchdown. Okay, we can take that. But if you're looking at a position that you can somewhat stream or maybe trade for if you wanted to over the next month, this guy might be worth a little bit more than what he would be. And he might, again, it's a significant increase, but he might go from 4 targets to 6. And for tight ends, that's a lot.
It's a very small window there between those guys, like the glob of tight ends after the big, 3 and maybe 5.
You're always
like
looking
6
for
to
that guy.
17. There's a lot of play there. So a couple of bumps in targets, a few more touchdowns.
There's always one or two guys that go from the outside of the top 12 that draft, that jump in and they just destroy everything. Last year, Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz. This year, I mean, even Ertz, he was still with Philly, and it didn't really kick over till he went to the Cards. But you're looking at those guys outside that traditional top 12 that can make a break because of circumstance or whatever that end up running amok. Everett could be that guy with Allen. Hamstrings, we know they're tricky. They are tricky, and they have a high, correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, but they have a high chance of repeating if they're not treated properly. Yep. And there's detrimental effects, back, groin, calf, everything else that can go along with it. So you're looking at Keenan Allen. If they try to rush him back with a short turnaround, I don't think he plays Thursday. 2 weeks with a hamstring is short. 3 weeks, that's hard. 4, maybe. So you got a 4-week gap where you can have a tight end that might be sitting on your waiver or could be cheap to buy on that could have 4 big weeks in a row. And that's you're almost in playoff contention after 4, 5, 6 weeks, aren't you? Depending on what's format you're playing in. It's a big, big deal.
I think the only problem with the Chargers is that Herbert is more likely than not to spread the ball around. So you have
that could happen. Yeah.
Seven of his receiving options all had 4 targets.
Well,
I mean,
what
are you going to do with that?
Sorry, Gladys, but to your credit, we're talking of Everett, but he had the same number of targets as Trey McKitty, the backup tight end.
Yeah.
So, they both had 4. They could both elevate, but to your credit, Dan, there were exactly 12 tight ends that got 6 or more targets last week in week 1. And I mean, Okwebanon, potentially Noah Fant could do that as well
and listen,
tonight.
That 6, the 6 that moves to 8 for him could be huge. It only takes 1 or 2 more for a tight end to differentiate themselves to everyone else. If Mark Andrews operated on 4 targets a game, he'd be back with everyone else. He's getting 8, 9, 10 a week. There's a big difference between him and everyone else. And again, Ravens are different, but like Everett, to go from 5, 6 targets a game to maybe 7, 8, 9, that's huge. And over the next month with tight ends, how they operate and how poorly they score generally, it could be a big separator between who you have and who you couldn't have and how you can get to the playoffs for your fantasy league.
So we've got a question here, Nathan Valisetti, and asking, would you trade CeeDee Lamb and DJ Chark for Keenan Allen? I know we're talking about bench CD for the time being. He's probably not worth playing, but just as we were talking about with Keenan Allen,
I didn't sign off on that. Just for the record.
Okay, yeah, that also true. That's just my opinion, but also I think this is quite overboard simply because the injury. I mean, if why trade for a player that Doc was saying might miss up to a month? That might be on the aggressive side at this point. It seems like in terms of higher for number of games, but certainly looks like he's not going to play this week. So to trade 2 assets for someone that you're not even going to have in the lineup seems, I don't know, that's
the most counterproductive thing you could do.
And I know, I think Scampers mentioned, instead of targeting Keenan Allen, target Mike Williams with Keenan Allen being out. Would you guys do that, or is that still too much to get, pivot down or pivot up from Lamb, quote unquote?
Is Cooper Rush not going to target the life out of Lamb?
It doesn't matter if Lamb's not catching him. And that's what his problem was last night. When people double team him because he's not a number 1 receiver, he's not catching the passes. So I would trade it because at least I'm hoping Mike Williams gets into the end zone, and I know that he's going to be targeted. CeeDee Lamb, with the way their offense is going now, no way. I wouldn't touch CeeDee Lamb.
He had that one big game last year, Cooper Rush. He played.
Right.
He went against Washington.
Minnesota, he went 40 pass attempts, 24 completions, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that was at Minnesota for that one. Now, if I double down.
Yeah, but
Izzy's back.
Minnesota. Hey, Izzy. Minnesota was trash last year. I mean, they're not playing Minnesota every week. Their defense was trash.
But we have a complete, and the defense is incredibly better this year because they absolutely pantsed Green Bay. But for whatever it's worth,
that was hard.
CeeDee Lamb for that one game against Minnesota was 8-6 and 112. So,
but he had
for whatever it's worth, right? He had Cooper and he had Gallup and I get it, but at least there's a little bit of comfort knowing that. Listen, this guy might throw 10 to 12 targets at CeeDee Lamb now, and we're playing a volume game, right? Most of the time, that could be a big deal.
Right.
I'd be terrified of CeeDee Lamb too, by the way, for what it's worth. But we have one game of Cooper Rush coming in, and he did very well, and they got the win in Minnesota, and Lamb was a reason for it. So, who knows?
I just think Lamb's a wide receiver too. I don't think he's a wide receiver.
CeeDee's just juju with hype.
So Gladys, do you like what Scamper's saying? Is CeeDee just juju but with hype?
Where's Juju's hype?
Juju has hype, Mr. Scampers. Juju's not all hype. Come on, Juju has hype. Mr.
So okay, but
I won't.
This is what you get for listening to a cat. Slander. Yeah, exactly. I'm not.
Well, and I think to what you were saying, Gladys. I mean, Land needs outside threats at wide receiver to be successful, not Noah Brown. That's probably not who you need on the outside. All due respect to Noah Brown. So yeah, is he saying Lamb trash, but Jefferson on fire, which is definitely true.
Funny, I feel like Dallas drafted an outside receiver that made incredible 50-50 catch contest look easy, and I don't know why was he playing yesterday? He wasn't, right? Oh, because he's not. Just throw Jalen Tolbert out there. Throw him out there. What? It's going to look worse than that? Is it going to look worse than that? Really? I tongue in cheek. They're going to bring Cole Beasley back at this rate. Like, this is going to happen. Go get Tolbert, throw him outside, just let him run the 9 route. Go. Doesn't matter. Just be a distraction.
Should we start the Cowboys need to sign Will Fuller chance again?
Oh, can we please? Oh my God, it'd be perfect for them.
I mean, Gallup coming back will help eventually, but again, he's on
Tolbert was not hurt, by the way. That was a healthy scratch. So whatever they're putting out down there, he ain't picking it up. So that was not due to injury. He didn't play because they did not want him to play. I don't know what that means, but it means something.
Yeah, rookie not ready, but let's go talk about a couple of second-year players. Actually, a few second-year players, but one of them is Naji Harris. And I know there's maybe some good news today that the foot injury wasn't so bad, but I do have a question that no one's going to care about. When I first heard about this a few weeks ago in preseason, Liz Frank strain, and they were playing him in the preseason, I was so baffled because in the CFL this year, Nathan Rourke has been tearing it up. Like he's missed the last 2 weeks with injury. It was a Liz Frank strain. And like he's still the leader in passing touchdowns, yards, although Caleros probably will pass him. But all to say, the second he got the Liz Frank sprain, he got surgery on it. And I know the context of timing is important. When he got hurt, they were 8-2. There's not enough good teams in the CFL. They're probably going to make the playoffs. And I think that they had the surgery with the eye of, we're probably making the playoffs. We want him to be as healthy as possible for the playoffs. So I know the surgery was kind of maybe done for that reason, but I just found it so curious that the same designation, Liz Frank strain, two complete opposite reactions to, we're going to immediately give surgery, to you're still playing in the preseason with this. So can you explain anything about that, Doc? Because I'm just confused, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. And we're going to talk about this a little bit in more detail with Eli Mitchell. So, the idea of like sprains or strains, like there's different grades. And, with a Liz Frank injury, that just means that the structure itself, the Liz Frank ligament, which is one of the ligaments that kind of is in the mid portion of the foot that holds a lot of the, part of the foot together. If it's completely torn, that's still technically a sprain. It's just a higher grade sprain than if it's a mild injury where it's not completely torn. So obviously the worse it is, the more likely you are to need surgery. So, it kind of goes in progression. I think this is the takeaway that will help people. And I think you guys, this is our year 3 of us working together. I think hopefully you know this by now. Anytime you hear foot injury, the red flag that you always worry about is Liz Frank injury. And allegedly with Naji Harris, the tests were negative. So that suggests that it's not a severe Liz Frank injury, because if that's the case, usually you can see the bones start to shift on an x-ray. You look at the MRI, you see the Liz Frank ligament's no longer there, and that usually requires surgical intervention. It sounds like we're not at that point with Naji Harris. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, but there's definitely elevated risk even if he is fine, and I'm using air quotes here. But here's the thing to take forward with this. This could be nothing, and he could end up, playing and being fine. But there's also a possibility this is like the injury canary in a coal mine, where like we're starting to see that like that injury that he had in the preseason hasn't fully healed. He's already leaving games, and there's an injury that may not need surgery, but is something that's either going to hamper him or get worse as the games go on. We're only at mile 1 of a 17-mile race here, and Naji Harris is already leaving games. So I actually think this is good news as far as people that I think you still go out and pick up Jaylen Warren. You still go out and pick up Benny Snell, and you just sit and wait. And if you're a Naji Harris, if you have him on your roster, hopefully this turns out to be nothing. But if not, you want to protect yourself. So I think that actually there's a buying opportunity here for these other running backs that people may say, oh, he's fine, I'm not going to worry about him anymore. You have less competition on the waiver wire. I'm still moving to pick up these guys because I don't like the way this is shaping up for him.
So avoid the Liz Frank injuries, right? Because I mean, think of like when you're talking about severe Liz Frank tear, Travis Etienne last year cost his entire rookie season.
Right. And we knew that was bad from the get-go. As soon as he injured it, it was like, hey, this could be really bad. Within 12 hours, it was like, okay, he's done for the year. And later on in the year, we saw that with Taysom Hill, which, it was like week 16 or 17. So everybody had forgotten about it at that point. But Liz Frank injury, and it's like done for the year. He's done. So, there's gradations, there's levels to it. But the fact that he was dealing with it before, that he has a foot injury again, and, that he's allegedly supposed to be okay, it's like, yeah, that's great. But this really does have a chance to linger, a non-zero chance of lingering. It's like you don't want to get caught with your proverbial pants down with, with Naji Harris, given all that's going on here.
And maybe not linger on this too much further, because there's a player you keep referencing, Elijah Mitchell. So let's get to that.
We got to get to Eli Mitchell.
Go ahead.
No, oh yeah. Well, was there something else you wanted to talk about with that or reference with?
I think you're right. Like we should kind of operate as if he might miss time, and in terms of making roster moves to add those guys. But Dan, do you know who they play next week? Or I guess Gladys, you're the Steelers fan.
I'll find that out. But like, if not now, when with him, right? Like it's if not now, when. That's not going away.
They play the Patriots.
That's right.
Week.
They do.
Steelers, they play the Patriots.
Trying to think that I guess the Dolphins didn't necessarily run the best. So that's one where would you guys, like, knowing that he's going to get the volume, would you consider benching Najee this week?
I mean, if he's playing, I wouldn't bench him, but I'm definitely feeling very, trepidatious about the whole thing because it's early and it's like, if he ends up going out for multiple weeks, like that could really, or for the year later on, like that could really cost you. It's like, you want to protect yourself. It's like, use a boxing analogy for me. You guys know the way that I play. It's like protect yourself at all times. Like it just takes one play for one of these guys to be out for multiple weeks or whatever. And that could really hurt your team, especially if it's the guy that you probably used a first round pick on or a high pick at some point in your drafting. You're counting on this guy. He's important to your team. So you want to have insurance for those type of players. And remember, with running back, especially, with wide receivers and pass catchers, like targets are earned. With running backs, carries are given. So it's like you really, to a certain extent, just have to be there, be upright, and be healthy, and you're going to get volume, and that's going to equal points. So the bar is a lot lower. The bar to entry is a lot lower. It's be healthy, be able to run, and be able to take a handoff, and you have at least a viable odd chance of getting some fantasy points versus if you're a pass catcher, there's a lot of other things in play. So, given all that, I really am still looking to pick up, Jalen Warren and Benny Snell.
That's almost one where we maybe even hope the Steelers hold him out a game or two, let him get healthy and not let us like have to play him in his line. It's like you're saying, Doc, he's in there if he's going to get that many opportunities, that many targets, especially like you almost have to play those guys. But Elijah Mitchell, not someone that gets a lot of targets, but certainly seemed like was in line to get a lot of carries, and seemingly like every 49ers lead running back got hurt again.
Yeah. It's like same story, different dance. Okay. So before we talk about Elijah Mitchell, I know a lot of people, use the decently high pick about that. If you guys are enjoying the show, if you're liking this, give us a like, give us a subscribe, go down there. Come on, help us out here. Going for 2. We're here for you guys. We're trying to keep that fantasy ship pointed towards Titletown all year. I know it's only week 1, but if we help you out in any way, if you like this in any way, give us a like. And thanks for watching. So let's talk about Elijah Mitchell. Let's talk about grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 injuries, because this is going to come up again and again and again. And the more you as the viewer, the fantasy football player, kind of conceptualizes this, and especially how grade 2 and grade 3 injuries can be a little bit of a misnomer, then I think it'll be really beneficial. But you guys tell me. I'll try to do this as brief as possible. So Elijah Mitchell, grade 2 MCL sprain. So the ligament on the inside portion of the knee, he has a grade 2 sprain. He basically, if anybody saw the clip, he had a planted foot. He took a helmet on the side of the knee and kind of pushed everything. The helmet went this way, his knee went that way, and lots of bad stuff happened after that. So what a grade 2 injury is, it's a partial tear of the structure, whether it's a muscle, a ligament, or a tendon. So I know I've been saying grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. So let's do an audio-visual demonstration for those of you watching at home. This is the structure in question. This is a grade 1 injury. There is no visible tear here at all. Maybe there's a little swelling. Maybe there's a little bit of fluid around the structure, but the structure itself is intact. Grade 1 injury. Very similar to if anybody's overdone it on the weekends as far as like working out or something like that. You're kind of sore for a couple of days. You can gut it out. Usually it gets a little bit better. May take a week or two to completely heal, but you usually start to feel better in a couple of days. Okay, here is a grade 2 injury. See that? That's a partial tear. So the structure is now no longer intact. So this is a grade 2 injury. So there's some of the structure is intact. Most of it is, but there's also a partial tear. Well, here's the tricky part. That's a grade 2 injury as well. And so is this. That is also a grade 2 injury. Now you can see this severe grade 2 injury is a lot different than if it was just a little bit up here. But all of these are partial tears. Okay? So if they say grade 2 partial tear, it could be a little bit of a tear. It could be a lot of a tear, or it could be completely separated like this. And sometimes these require surgery. So then what's a grade 3 injury? Well, there's really no grade 4. So a grade 3 injury is that it's no longer intact. It's completely gone. So there is your audio visual demonstration. We spare no expense here going for
I love visuals.
We spare no expense here. So with one post-it note, there's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Why is it important? Why is grade 2 injuries? Why can they be so confusing? The fact that they're talking about Eli Mitchell missing 8 weeks, that's really the upper end of the scale for grade 2 injuries. So that suggests to me that this is a high grade partial tear of his ligament. So surgery is unlikely at this point, but he could be really slow to recover with this. So, you know, we're back to kind of, you know, same song, different dance. Like this is how Eli Mitchell benefited last year when Raheem Mostert tore his cartilage and he kind of took it and ran with it all year. So Jeff Wilson probably gets the next crack at the lead. You know, there's Mason, there's Tyrion Davis-Price. So I think it's worth throwing some darts at this backfield just because that's the way the 49ers work. Like there's no rhyme or reason as to who's going to be the next guy. But you guys tell me. Like, first of all, tell me how much you love that audio visual demonstration because my ego is fragile and I need the validation. And number two, tell me what you guys think about the backfield as far as what you want to do.
Well, for a grade 2's tear explanation, I give you more than a 2+. I give you at least a 3+, maybe even a 4-. So that was great because I think it's really simple.
How many stars would that?
Yeah.
That grade 2 demonstration makes me realize that my whole life is a grade 2 tear. just hanging on by a thread.
I just want you guys to keep in mind, it cost me $150,000 in order to be able to do that demonstration with a Post-it note. So the medical education that I got, in order to be able to do that, very high value, expensive demonstration. So there you go.
I want to know, Doc, how many times you messed up that demonstration practicing?
It was the over/under on how many times I messed it up is 1.5. So
you tore too quickly, right? Like this is 2. Oh no, this is 3. Does someone have another piece of paper?
I was like, am I going to mess this up on a live feed? But I didn't. It all worked out.
So it's like Jeff saying Jordan Mason's the guy you want to add as a hot take. Gator saying he's now the RB2 in San Francisco. I think the fact that Tyrion Davis-Price was inactive, but Mason wasn't, that speaks to, I think Gator is for sure right, but Jeff could be right. They may view Wilson as their kind of safe guy, the pass catching guy, which is more about pass protection than actually throwing balls to the running back, to be fair. But yeah, maybe Mason's the guy. What do you think, Dan?
Who's the lightest running back they have?
I think it's got to be who's the fastest, right? But
the lightest. Because they tend to throw out the lightest guy first, and they get hurt the quickest. So
is it Mason or Wilson? I'll have to look that up. Good advanced research.
Mason's always hurt. Wilson's always hurt. I ain't messing with him. Go with the guy that's the lightest. That's what they do. The most undrafted and lightest person.
Here's the thing with Wilson. Wilson could be good in short spurts. I know, he's got his own injury issues, but he can give you a couple of weeks and then he gets hurt and then you kick it on. No, you kick it on down the road, but you got to play week to week with this. So if Wilson's there, I go get him. If Mason's there, I go get him. If TDP is still out there, I doubt it, but it's possible. I go get him, and you just take a chance, see what happens.
At some point, Shanahan's going to have to use someone that John Lynch drafted, and it's going to kill him. And you're going to see him like twitching a little. His eyes going to start like flickering, and he's going to have to do it one week. And it's because he keeps throwing out guys that aren't built for it. It's just going to keep happening every time. These slight guys, Raheem Mostert, same deal.
Actually,
Mason
isn't so slim. Wilson is 194 pounds. Jordan Mason is 5'11", 223. Tyrion Davis-Price is 6'1", 232. So if by your theory, Dan, it should definitely be Wilson.
Smallest guy, smallest man up. Jeff Wilson, off you go.
Yeah.
Oh, man, they'd love to play Trey Sermon now, but oh, wait, they don't have him anymore.
Yeah. No, he's too big. He wouldn't have gotten the run anyway.
Trade Tony Pollard for Jimmy G.
Let's go. Let's
Who
go,
says
Izzy.
no?
Let's go.
Izzy's on that Madden life.
I think everyone in the fantasy community would want that, to be fair. But that might just be a fantasy, to be fair, Izzy. But I think we'd all love that trade.
All right, let's round it out because I know you guys want to get to the picks.
I did want to get to one ad first before we did a.
Was it higher and lower? Oh, can't say over under. It's got to be higher, lower.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
Thank you. Thank
You're
you. I'm
welcome.
working on it. Get ready, Dan. Get ready, Discord, Dan. We got that all year.
Discord, Dan. I'm here.
All right. So real quick, T. Higgins concussion. He's in the protocol. So no hard and fast rules here. Some guys progress quickly. Some guys take weeks or longer. Tyler Boyd's probably the biggest beneficiary. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. And then TJ Watt, it's like we love guys on defense. Like they're important too. So they're suspecting he's got a high grade tear of his pectoralis muscle. They're fearing a complete tear. And here's the thing. He's going for additional opinions, going for second and third opinions. And usually that means the first opinion was something that you didn't like. So my guess is that this is heading down the road of season-ending surgery is the most likely outcome. Fingers crossed that's not the case, but it's not looking good for him. So that's where we are with injuries. It could have been better. It could have certainly been worse. But we will be on Discord all week as these things continue to evolve. So look for us on there on Doc's Injury channel over on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord and you're watching this, what are you doing with your life? Get on the Discord. The Discord is great. Don't listen to Dan. Dan's converted. Dan loves the Discord now.
Does.
But you got a lot of great stuff over there. I think we're about 700 members. It's totally free. It doesn't cost you anything. There's lots of great information, whatever you're looking for. Injury analysis, DFS, start sit questions, trade inquiries, lots of great content. So get on the Discord, like and subscribe, help us out. And I'm going to kick it over to you guys for the pick'ems and stuff like that.
Well, before we get to that, I know there was a question. Gator's asking, what is Dan doing? I think that's when you were like pressing the screen. Gator, what he's doing is he's hitting the like button, but he doesn't realize you have to actually click it with the mouse, not on the screen. So yeah, just under the video, there's a thumbs up. Click it for us on the YouTube Going for Two live page. We'd really appreciate that, as Doc mentioned on the Discord. But we also want to shout out another sponsor, a new sponsor, in fact. No House Advantage. So it's a website dedicated to pick'em style contests. And like a lot of sponsorships, we have a promo code with Going for Two. So if you use GF2 as the promo code when you sign up for No House Advantage, they will match your deposit up to $25. So if you put $25 in, the website will also give you an extra $25. You'll suddenly have $50 to play with on all these pick'em style contests and props. So again, that promo code is GF2. Going for two. So all caps GF and the number 2. So a 3-digit code, right? That keep it simple, just like we like to do here as we get to the underdog higher lower matchups for the Monday Night Football game, which is I guess it's not divisional opponents. It's West versus West, but different conferences. The Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. And we also have a promo code for underdog. So if you join underdog, and you can enter some of the props we'll talk about tonight, some of the game predictions as well. You can use, again, the promo code is GF2. Kept it simple and made it the same promo code for both sites, so everyone can remember that as easily as possible, especially the hosts doing this.
Anyone want to take a guess at what Jeff's email password is?
But so underdog, their match deposit is up to $100. So you can put up to $100 there, and they will match that up, and you will double the money you have to start with. So getting to tonight's game. Denver at Seattle.
On tonight's picks, you guys, Kyle's going to keep a running total, and the loser, the one who has the least amount of picks, has to send money to the winners charity, and you guys can join in too if you want. But if you lose, then you have to send money to the charity. So be forewarned, because I don't really like to lose. Just saying.
There's also not a bad reason to ever give money to charity, to be fair. But yes, looking forward to doing this all season long.
All right, the gauntlet has been thrown.
So first off, so Underdog's prediction for this game is a higher lower of 44.5 points, and then they also have Denver favored by 7 points. So just real quick, everyone's thoughts just on that the game in general, before we get to the specific player props.
That's it. 7 points. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. I think Denver's going to score like 40 on their own. So we're saying Seattle has one kick.
Oh, I don't mind Seattle's secondary. They're not bad. They got decent linebackers. Actually, their defense is all right. They're not that bad.
I just want to interject real quick. And cornerback, 2 rookies.
Brian said that he pulled his hamstring on the way to the bathroom. What's his timetable? So I say, hey, Brian, they shoot horses, don't they?
Brian, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go back to the bathroom. You're going to go back to the bathroom, and you're going to tear some paper in half until you figure out where you feel like the pain.
Definitely don't video whatever you're doing in the bathroom, though. Maybe some people out there do. I don't judge, but I don't want to see it.
Is -7 enough? Like, are we underestimating how?
I'm taking Seattle. I just want you to know I'm taking Seattle on the points. So
unbelievable.
Really?
Absolutely, I'm taking Seattle on the points.
All right. Okay.
So wow.
Crafty Pete Carroll. Doc, he's got something up his sleeve there.
Doc, you're aware that Russell Wilson isn't playing for Seattle, though, right?
Nice, good one. I'm taking Seattle and the 7, so that's it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So Dan's clearly going with the Broncos. Gladys,
I'm going Denver and under.
I'm going Denver and over.
Oh, I'm going Seattle and under.
Okay. Oh, we're also doing the higher. Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, right.
Well, no, I have to set up the spreadsheet for that too. I thought we were just gonna pick the teams, but yes.
We can do it however you want.
Yeah, Kyle.
Well, no, we can definitely do that. So I'll go. I'm taking Denver as well, and I'll say I think higher. Just thinking that Geno Smith might be able to get enough on the offense to keep up, and I think the Broncos offense themselves should put up a lot of points as well.
Denver higher.
Brian says it's a grade 2.5, like his maturity. Because apparently Jeff's password is "I said no kickers, damn it." So that's his password, not GF2. Sorry, Jeff, for ruining it for everyone. Jamie has a question, or just I guess mentioning put $5 on Sutton over 150 yards for an $80 payout.
On Underdog?
On that.
Who wants money anyway? No one needs money.
That's a lot of yards for Sutton.
That's a lot of yards for Gordon.
It's a lot of yards for Sutton. Yeah, no. I say no, Jamie, but you go do you, baby. Cleveland won yesterday, Jamie. Life is weird. Do what you need to do.
Well, and it's funny because I think that'll actually transition nicely into our prop lines and our prop picks for this game. Again, from Underdog. Jamie saying he's getting that one from my bookie, but okay. So again, and that's actually a great point that I want to start with. And we're going to start with Gladys's pick here in that exploiting what different sites have and exploiting the different platforms to find the right lines or the right yardage that you want for a specific player. So Gladys, your Underdog prop pick for week 1.
So I'm really big into exploitation. I just want you guys to know that. Javonte Williams on Underdog is 60.5 rushing yards. On BetMGM, the same bet is 82.5 rushing yards. So yeah, I'm going with Underdog higher, Javonte Williams on rushing yards.
Wow.
I know, 20 yards. It's 20 yards difference. I don't even understand why. And it wasn't that I picked it early. I picked it last night. So it's not the change, like Dan said, the change, Underdog changed from the beginning to now. I don't know. I can't explain it, but look it up. It's true story. Oh, wait. Jeff is going 13.5 carries for Javonte? Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I guess before we get to ours, I mean, we tell people to play along. So Jeff's already kind of sharing some of his. So Penny under the lower than 81.5 total yards. Javonte higher than 13.5 carries. Sutton higher than 4.5 receptions, and Judy higher than 5 receptions. And that's interesting because that's what I want to lead into mine. Talking about sometimes exploiting something, a disparity or discrepancy on the same website. So looking through the numbers, looking at the Broncos receiving numbers was interesting because as Jeff has it here, they've got Sutton at 4.5 receptions, Judy at 5. Interesting that Judy is exactly not 5.5, but exactly 5. So that was strange.
Horrible.
Yeah, it is.
It almost, but
it's almost like they're telling you. It's almost like they're telling you, please don't bet on Judy.
Which is weird. And this thing kind of tells me too. They have Judy even with more catches at less yards, and on the underdog prediction for higher or lower, theirs is 85.5 yards for Judy, 63.5 for Sutton on less catches. So there's something to exploit on either side of it. Are Judy's yardage too low, or do they just not have Sutton with enough catches? And that's where I want to lean. So my pick this week is Sutton higher than 4.5 receptions, just as Jeff mentioned here. I almost think Judy, the line, like, it seems low for both, to be honest, but it's weird that Judy, if you get 5, it's a push. So it makes it less likely to go with that. If Sutton gets 5 receptions, you get that win. So I kind of like to do what Gladys is doing.
What's their touchdowns on underdog?
It's funny. They have them head to head. There's no either or. It's just who's going to have more. Okay. So it's either Sutton or Judy, but there's no like half a start. If I had to give someone half a start, I'd probably want to give the handicap to Judy because I think Sutton in those red zone opportunities is probably
the guy to go.
I would think. So I would probably lean Sutton in that regard. But
I have a stat for that. Sutton has played twice as many games as Jerry Judy, 50 to 26, but he has 4 times as many touchdowns, 12-3. So that's a disparity that I think if you're going touchdowns, I would go Sutton.
Yeah.
So my pick is Sutton for 4.5 catches, higher than that. Dan, you could talk about yours. I guess we've talked a lot about the Broncos. The Seahawks do exist. Like, I don't think we want to ignore the Seahawks and pretend they don't exist. They do. So let's talk a bit about some Seahawks lines here.
There's 2 things I know in life, and that's one, always bet the over on chicken shit quarterbacks running for their life. That would be Geno Smith at 9.5. I was nearly there.
Chicken shit quarterbacks. Nice,
well,
Dan.
you know,
nice, Dan.
Well,
nice.
That is a Giants fan.
What if his mother's listening? Come on.
I don't care. He was a Jet. He was a Jet once. He's a Jet now. I don't care.
Well, but if Geno Smith's mom is listening, hi, Mrs. Smith.
And if she saw him running,
sorry about Dan slandering your son.
She'd be disappointed in him too. So for me, I went everyone's week 1. If there's anyone that's more pragmatic about week 1 performances than Sammy Watkins, it's Will Dissly. Will Dissly likes to pop up week 1, week 2, and then tear the weirdest thing in his body and never be heard from him again. 11.5 receiving yards for Will Dissly. I think he looked pretty good in the offseason. He seems to have something enough going with Geno Smith to know that when it gets late and they need to find those chunk yards, he's going to run up the seat for one. He needs 1 reception, Will Dissly. And that's what I'm looking at. I think he's good for 1. How many times it takes Geno to get him 1 is another thing. I have 0 confidence in that, but 11.5 yards for Will Dissly. I am going higher, even though I hate going higher. I like staying lower. But yeah, Will Dissly higher than 11.5.
Okay.
Geno Smith's mom is on vacation during the season, but if she's on vacation, she can tune in to Going for 2 Live every day of the week, actually, and watch shows. We have live programming every day of the week here on Going for 2 Live. I mean, someday I think Saturday is triple headers. 2 days. I mean, it's almost like CFL games. Like there was a triple header last Saturday too. So there's a second reference for anyone keeping track of the higher or lower for CFL talk here. Hey, we're mid-season. What can I say? Starting off here though, week 1. But just to viewer question: Hamler over or higher, lower than 2.5 receptions? Which side would you guys lean towards? Or is this one that's scary?
Lower. Got to go lower there.
We have talked about higher for a lot of things. Eventually, we're going to have to go lower on something, right?
I'm going higher. I think it's
that's bold. I know he was hurt coming into this game too. I could see him getting like 2 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Okay,
but I don't know.
That would be information I would need to know before I make my thing.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's why I'm here.
hurt in that he's still recovering from the ACL.
He's recovering from his ACL, but it's like he wasn't coming along great like towards the end of the preseason. So it's like there was even some talk of, maybe they were gonna. I don't know if they're gonna hold him out or not, but he wasn't like, back.
All right, and I'm backtracking. Lord.
All right, there you go. So now he'll get 6 catches
exactly.
Well, and again,
yards and a touchdown.
We're talking we like the higher on Sutton and potentially Judy as well. So eventually someone would have to maybe not be higher unless we really if we're saying all these players higher, then we should really be advising go higher on Wilson, right?
Okay, there was one of the prop bets was Wilson 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, and 25 receptions. I didn't take it because of the 25 receptions. I don't think that out of those 3, Alberto, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, they're going to get 25 receptions, but I think he'll get 300 yards.
Doc needs one. Doc, who do you like?
Okay, so it's a guy that everybody's kind of forgotten about is my boy Melvin Gordon.
Here we go.
So
I like it.
I know that
I like it.
Give the
I like it. I'm feeling it already. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Everybody's ready to just give it over to Javonte Williams and wait for Melvin Gordon to get taken in the rapture. I don't know how he's going to do it, but
let's blow this parlay right up. Let's blow this parlay up, Doc. Let's go. Blow it up. Let's go.
No, listen. Melvin Gordon is going to be involved, and he's going to go over 50.5 combined rushing receiving yards. I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's going to do it somehow, and he's going to get a bigger share of the backfield than everybody wants, at least for this week. So that's the one I like.
That's really bold.
So 4 hires for us, right? Yeah. We are for hire, by the way.
Yeah.
No, but
we need Izzy on here to talk some sense into us to get us to take some lowers.
Well, again, so yeah, we like the Hamler lower. I think. I know Izzy was saying that too. Hamler 1 catch for 45 yards.
To be fair, if Hamler goes over, he probably blows all of our picks up. So.
So yeah, we all of us should agree on Hamler lower then, because just for the sake of our own personal picks.
I will take the Hamler lower. Yes.
So yeah, I guess a quick recap of what we've picked. So Dan sticking with Will Dissly at 11.5 yards higher. We're higher on all 4. So Doc chose Melvin Gordon at, was it 50.5 total yards rushing?
50.5 combined rushing receiving higher
on that. Gladys Javonte Williams 60.5 rushing yards higher. So both Broncos backs represented there, and I have Cortland Sutton higher than 4.5 receptions.
Just to throw a spanner in the work, Gladys, they've got Javonte. They've got 79.5 combined for Javonte. So that's an extra 19.5 added on top, 19 yards
for receiving. Yeah, I would do it. Yeah.
But we're happier with the 60.
Yeah,
I'm going to start with the 60. But Gladys endorses the other as well.
We'll see how that works.
Well, I guess depends on how confident. I mean, could you imagine him getting 80 yards just rushing, and then you don't even have to worry that he catches passes?
Yeah, I can.
I was worried about Saquon Barkley going for 40 yards rushing yesterday.
Saquon killed it.
And
he's on like half my fantasy teams. I love Saquon. I love your coach. That call going for 2. Come on, that was awesome. That was like the best call of the whole year, probably.
We're not used to that. Trying.
What's up, G?
We of course fully endorse going for 2.
Yeah.
We're going for 2 network. And yeah, G's here. Hey, G. Also, I guess some plans. I guess this is a reference to Doc Does Dan.
Oh my God, that sounds like a porn movie.
I realized after I said it, this
sounds like the worst adult film
Doc
ever.
Does Dan impersonations.
Thank you
really
for clarifying.
Say that last word.
Yeah.
You've had all off season to work on that.
Well, I mean, I've had 5 minutes. Gator just brought this up now, and I mean, I didn't think Doc. Are you talking to me or Doc? Because I didn't know Doc was going to come with Dan impersonations week 1.
Great Dan impersonations, not just Dan impersonations. They were pretty awesome Dan impersonations.
So Jeff wants to have Doc come on the Armchair Show, which is Wednesday nights, by the way, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. Foss and our boss Jeff will always bring on great guests, which includes potentially Doc as Dan.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry. Jeff doesn't book you. Listen. Jeff doesn't book his own.
Send me a DM. We'll talk.
Let me know. Listen, Jeff doesn't book his own staff during the year. We all know this, right? So we're not gonna. There's no double duty for any of us, right?
Exactly. I don't think I've never been on it.
Jeff won't give us the nudge. Hey, Wednesday night, we going?
Yeah.
None of that. No, he goes elsewhere.
Yeah,
Gladys is too busy doing like the Scott Fishbowl potathon. She doesn't have time to go to.
He doesn't want to. Jeff doesn't want us double dipping anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's like no,
Gladys
just stay alone.
Gladys has got bigger fish to fry than the Armchair Fantasy Show. Believe that.
Jeff.
I plugged his damn show like 7 times on Friday.
You
in 30 minutes. I plugged it. I was like buying time. Check out the show, please.
Guys, can you believe we got through the whole slate in like an hour? That's got to be.
It's probably not going to happen too often. It's got to be a time to just ramble on endlessly. Dan can rant if he wants to too. Because Gators say Dan is showing his New York fandom and
minutes for the game starts. We're not giving our picks for the over under and halftime. So that's a big plus.
The
Giants won, man. The Giants won.
Yeah, they did. And they got listen, they got Cleveland, then Dallas, and then Chicago. They got a pretty nice run the next few weeks.
4-0, baby. 4-0.
2-2. They are 2-2, which is something we haven't been for.
Who are they going to lose to?
10
Who are
years.
they going to lose to?
I think they could beat Cleveland.
And I think they can beat Dallas.
They'll beat Dallas, but Cleveland.
It's funny how no one's saying the Bears, right? It's suddenly the Bears where everyone's like, oh, everyone's going to walk all over them, and they're 1-0. So that
in Chicago,
even though I'm a Packers fan,
oh no, actually, sorry. We play 3 games at home in a row, so they play all 3 in New York. So maybe we'll see.
I noticed this too, actually.
I did notice that.
And the Dynasty Gambit logo on the whole time, which is fine.
There.
I plug every show. I don't care. I plug them all. Because I remember we got an email once. We should start talking about everyone's shows. And I was like, all right, that's all I'm going to talk about now. I've got to almost have the picks in.
Well, I guess because we talked about the show enough, Jeff saying, great show. Everyone love it all.
Thank you, F. Feel better, Jeff.
Yeah, get better, Jeff.
COVID
sucks.
Yeah, Jeff. And your GF2 password.
But back to this. So, you're right. The Giants aren't used to winning. So, Dan, do you have a rant for us this week?
Why would I have a rant?
Thank you.
I guess.
Do I have a rant? I don't know. To be honest with you, I feel pretty good.
Does anyone? Well,
I'll take that.
Doc does.
That's
Dan.
something that's not going to happen every week.
It's kind of a rant.
Put that in your back pocket. Catch that ticket.
I tell you what, I still don't believe in Atlanta. I still don't know how they keep getting by, and I think that might have been a New Orleans thing. I don't know. To be honest,
Atlanta did lose.
Actually, there you go.
Right?
I could keep going on a New York Giants tear. We could talk about Joe Judge turning Mack into Danny.
Oh wait, here, hold on. I got something that you could rant away. I just want to put this out there because it's week 1, like, fantasy sports, things like that. You're going to hear advice from people where they're like, I need to see it first before I pick this guy up.
No, you don't.
Things move too fast. Things move too fast in the NFL. Don't be one of those people that needs to see it first. If you've never heard of anybody, like almost everybody that's a star now, you would never heard of at some point in your life.
Richie James.
Wait, and just because you've never heard of somebody, don't pick them up. Like now is the time to put these guys on your roster and see if they can turn into something. Nobody heard of Eli Mitchell last year, and he ended up being an RB2 out of nowhere. Darrell Henderson, same thing. Oh, I don't think he's going to be that good. Now everybody loves him, and they hate Cam Akers, which, by the way, that's not going to happen every week either. But Darrell Henderson probably slept on a little bit. Cam Akers probably a little overvalued. The truth for the both of them probably lies somewhere in the middle. But take these opportunities when they present themselves. Pick up these guys. Don't wait to see it first before you pick them up because it's going to be too late. Okay,
James,
James, my rant's over. Now your rant can start.
Richie James out-targeted Kadarius Toney 6-0. Thank you, Dave.
So what's going on with Kadarius Toney?
Also, we played the Danny Jones threw a 70-yard bomb, not to our fastest play, but quite possibly our slowest player coming off an Achilles. Thank you, Sterling Shepard.
Oh, he's good, man. He's good.
Sterling Shepard's the king. I love that guy. But
why
are you asking that guy to out-sprint
any day?
He's outside his means. But 6 targets to none for Toney. Jesus Christ, that's not good. Like, this is Tony looks good every time he touches the ball. We're not going to give him the ball. Richie James out-touched us 6-0. My God. And never mind the most expensive wide receiver in the league, Kenny Golladay, this year. Never mind that, who got 2 targets. Pump
22 yards. 2 targets, 22 yards.
Pump the brakes on the Giants and whatever the frick they are. I still don't know who Chris Myarick is because he out-touchdowned, I think, Evan Ingram last year. Like, they're still backwards, but, you know, they had a good win, and let's just... You know, again, Joe Judge. I'm still.
Way to go, Kyle.
I'm still worried that Mac Jones is going to be the next Danny Jones.
We forgot to talk about Mac Jones. Thank you for
terrifying. Listen. Joe Judge is going to ruin that boy. The longer he's in New England, I'm terrified because I want nothing to do with that. Nothing.
Okay,
is he hurt?
That's a beautiful segue. Let's talk about Mac Jones real quick. So he hurt his back. They're calling it back spasms. They're saying maybe he plays this week. So they only got x-rays. So that really doesn't tell us much. They were negative. That's good. But it doesn't tell us a whole lot. Fractures are easily, like breaks, fractures are easily missed on an x-ray. And muscle strains, disc injuries, things like that, they don't show up on x-ray. They show up on MRI. So let's see if he's able to practice. Let's see if they send him for an MRI. And if they do, then we could start getting worried. Otherwise, maybe he dodged a bullet. And on an unrelated topic, Dan, how validating is it that Evan Ingram went to Jacksonville and still kind of stunk? Do you feel personally validated by that, or?
I'll tell you what, there was like that one glimmer of hope we had, where we could have had Beckham, Shepard, Barkley, and Ingram, and then they traded Barkley, and then they traded out Beckham. It was one of those what could have been sliding doors sort of a thing, because that would have been
Sliding Doors, great movie reference.
It was.
You saw that movie? You saw that movie?
I just know the reference. I don't see it.
That's fantastic.
I'm just watch anything.
He doesn't watch any movies. I just know the metaphor. That's it. I get it.
I have another movie reference for you. I can't wait until the end of the year where Dan is in the bathroom watching the game, the Monday night game on his phone, like Matthew McConaughey at the end of Two for the Money, trying to hit the over/under and the spread, so he doesn't have to pay $50 to the American Diabetic Association.
I don't know that movie either, but it's one of those things where, look, Ingram, he lost all the Giants when he dropped that catch against Philly. And it was kind of building up to that point, but that one catch, which would have sealed us the game and got us into the playoffs, that's kind of one of those things where you go, you've got to go. But to go to Jacksonville, and I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence because he looked a bit better yesterday, but
except for that one pass.
Like we could take Dallas and like everything they built up for. It's like, here's your offensive line that's meant to be incredible, and here's your amazing receivers that are meant to be difference makers, and then now all of a sudden you've traded a receiver. The other one's got an ACL. Your O-line's turned to shit. And by the way, we don't know what to do now because our play calling sucks. They literally look like the Giants from last year. They looked appalling. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, you know, what Evan Ingram could have done last year and what he can do now, it just doesn't matter if the team's not right. So I hope he has a better career in Jacksonville. I hope he does all right. I don't really care. Chris Myarick scored another one yesterday. Another one that Evan Ingram wouldn't have. That's the world that we live in as the Giants fans. That's it.
So it's funny that you're saying Evan Ingram lost his job because he dropped a pass to Philly. Could it
be
said?
It felt that way. That's when everyone sort of turned on him. It was that moment everyone went, oh.
You see, I kind of feel like the opposite happened for Philly. Jalen Reagor, that one game against the Giants where he dropped 2 passes, probably cost him his job in Philly because now he's in Minnesota. So that's almost full circle, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. And then that's when I think that was the game where Doug Pederson, he threw the third choice quarterback to see if he could play. And it's just one of those things where, like, we all kind of.
I know you love that game though with Nick
Sudfeld. Oh my God! No, that was the last game of the year, but the Evan Ingram one was a few weeks earlier when we were still a chance of making it in. It's just one of those things where, like, Ingram was, I don't know, a victim of circumstance. He could be something else somewhere. I would have liked to have seen him on a team like, maybe not so much Jacksonville, but he'd be awesome at San Fran, I think, where he doesn't have to do those blocking duties and he can just be a receiver and be such a thing. But the more you ask of him, the more he lets you down. Just let him receive and be as that. And if he can do that in Jacksonville, God bless. But who knows?
It takes a big man to forgive, Dan. So I commend you for that. So, folks out there, the healing has begun.
We ain't paying him. We ain't paying him.
It's a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah, we're not using that graphics budget either to pay him.
That's right.
All right, Kyle, what do we got before we go?
Well, of course, we've got the promo code GF2, which you can use on Underdog for deposit match there. You can also use that same promo code on No House Advantage. And No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. Play in pick'em style contests. It's all in caps. I'd say it louder. But you play pick'em style contests versus other people. Then this is other humans, right? Like you're not playing against a machine, a robot. Like you're playing against other people making decisions like you. So you're all eligible for a shot at winning $150,000 or potentially more. Download the app, use our promo code GF2, and get a deposit match up to $25 on No House Advantage. Sports include NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. I'd like to wonder if they have CFL as well. But again, that promo code GF2 for that $25 deposit match. So as Monday Night Football approaches, any final thoughts from any of the co-hosts?
Great show. I missed all of your faces. Thank you. All of you.
Missed you too, Gladys. Glad to be back.
Definitely. It's good to be back
anything
for year 3. Thank you, everyone. This was amazing. Great to talk some injuries. Find us on Discord. We're going to be talking injuries all week. If you got more questions, more information comes out, then be on the lookout for that. If you're still here and you're still watching and you made it through all those rants and you haven't hit the like or the subscribe button, please do that. It really helps us out. And if you like the kind of injury content that I put out, look for me on Twitter at TFSDoc. Send me questions. Look for me on Discord. Again, it's free, Going for 2 Discord, and I do have a book out as my co-host.
You have a book? What?
Yeah, whoever, we never mentioned that before. The book, Injuries Suck, but Your Fantasy Team Doesn't Have to. Exactly the type of stuff that you need to learn more about injuries and dominate your fantasy football leagues. So it's only week 1. If you won, great. If you lost, that's okay. We're going to turn the page. We're going to keep your teams healthy and steaming towards Title Town. So
it's
thanks
a great
again for watching.
It's a grade 2 book with it's fantastic.
You'll tear right through it real quick. Right? It's such a good read.
You will tear right through that thing.
Any final comments? B-League, is that it? That is the final comment.
I think let's ride. Whatever.
Yes, let it ride.
Let's ride.
Bye, guys.
Give me your best. Let's ride, Carl. Come on.
Broncos country.
Yeah.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
All right, guys.
All right, well, let's ride out of here. Next week, special time. I think doubleheader next Monday. So we'll actually be starting at 6 p.m. Eastern to get an hour before that first game. Will be 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday after that. But again, check out everything on the Going for 2 Live network. On behalf of the Doc, B-League, Gladys, I'm Senra Says, and I say we're getting out of here. This was the Monday Night Conversion.
Bye guys.
That's right.